It's been a divisive issue for the UK over the past 5 years. The 2016 Brexit referendum result delivered a mandate to leave the European Union, but no clear instructions for how to do it. Boris Johnson pushed through a hard Brexit, his gamble being that whatever the problems of implementation, he would reap the political dividend of being the person who, in his words, got Brexit done. So how's that worked out in practice? Guto Harri was a former advisor to Johnson during his time as London Mayor. I asked him how content the government is since the end of the transition period.
I think it's fair to say the government think it's gone better than they feared, and actually a lot better than they'd hoped for. First of all, because it wasn't a disaster initially from the logistical changes, but more importantly, more fundamentally, over the last few weeks in particular, the contrast between the vaccine rollout in the UK and what's happened at within the European Union has allowed the government to claim credibly, even to people who are sceptical about Brexit, that it has allowed us to follow our own course as the United Kingdom, and that course has been better in terms of the things that matters most to people at the moment is getting vaccinated. So it's actually been something they could have never predicted, wasn't part of the calculation for Brexit, but it's played to their favour in a very big way.
You mentioned vaccines there. You know, Boris Johnson said he was the Prime Minister that was going to get Brexit done. Is he going to be remembered for that, or do you think that COVID-19 is going to overshadow the whole Brexit story?
It certainly has overshadowed in terms of the focus over the last year and, you know, the kind of energy it's taken up, the airtime that it's taken up. Some would say it was remarkable that he actually did manage to get Brexit done in spite of all of that. The difference long term is that every leader will be remembered for how they coped with the pandemic, whereas Boris Johnson will be remembered by history, for better or worse, by the fact that he led the United Kingdom out of the European Union. So Brexit in the end is, in historical terms, more distinctly critical for his legacy.
But we are a very long way away from that bright trading future that was promised post-Brexit. Look, you work with a lot of businesses, but what's the mood?
Well, they are worried, and you hear different stories about whether supply chains are less reliable, whether people can bring stuff in or send stuff out, whether, you know, you can plan for changes down the line. A lot of that has been obscured by the fact that there has been a global lockdown. So the argument in the end might well be that we don't know what Brexit is really like because we haven't experienced normal life, post-Brexit. So over time, we will see how disruptive it is. At the moment, the pandemic has obscured the worst potential effects of it. So it's, again, the government and Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, once again, has had a big dose of luck in their favour.
So is that really why you think Boris Johnson and many of his colleagues have been so quiet since the end of the transition period?
Well, they want people to feel that Brexit actually turned out to be easier, less painful than, you know, the critics had predicted. So they don't want to draw too much attention to it, because when all is settled, when the global economy is moving again, when we are back to something resembling, you know, the nearest thing we can imagine these days to normality, it's only then, I think, that we will see how much will have changed because of Brexit. Certainly, a lot of companies are finding the paperwork more burdensome, the bureaucracy more burdensome, kind of all kinds of niggly things that just make life that little bit harder. But the true repercussions for the rest of us, seeing them writ large, have so far been obscured to a certain extent by the pandemic. So all of that is still for another day.